Welcome to the Muscle Car Fan Live Talk Show with your host, Pat Caporuscio, who has decades of experience buying, selling, racing, and being involved with muscle cars of all types, especially 60s and 70s models. Our editor, Ross Mills, has been restoring and driving classic cars since he was in his early teens and has gained valuable knowledge of things to avoid and the best ways to approach car restoration. He continues to be heavily involved in muscle cars of all types. Now with your host, Pat Caporuscio, we bring you the Muscle Car Fan Live Talk Show with our guest, Ross Mills.
Hey everybody, this is Pat Caporuscio and welcome to the show. This is our first interview for the Muscle Car Fan community, and our first guest is Ross Mills, who's the editor of this site. He's put together all the articles, all the information you see on the site, and Ross is a longtime car enthusiast and an excellent writer and researcher, and he's responsible for everything you see on the show there. How are you today, Ross?
I'm fine, Pat. I've been looking forward to talking to you for a long time. It's nice to hear your voice.
And you're in Canada, eh?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're in Vancouver.
I had to throw that in there just because I've been to Windsor a lot, being in the Detroit area. We've traveled over to Canada quite a bit, but you know what I noticed? We used to do shows in Canada. Hardly anybody ever said "eh." They talk just like we do in Detroit. So
you'll hear it when you least expect it. You will hear it, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I used to hear it here more in Michigan.
Also, you find Canadians are not very nationalistic until they get called on it. Like, you won't find very many Canadian flags here. You won't find,
really?
Yeah, not very often. But there's a side. There's a side there that's nationalistic. I think we're very conscious of our bigger brothers south of the border and how strongly we're influenced by American culture, American music. We have Canadian content laws.
Right, and especially the American cars that are over there.
Oh, well, there's Canadian-made versions, and we export some of them too. There's Pontiacs made up here. Some of the cars, the Beaumont, the Acadian, they're made here, and they might use Pontiac might use Chevy drivetrain, might use Chevy parts because they're cheaper than Pontiac. The Beaumont was sold by Pontiac showrooms, but it was they distanced themselves from it. It has the split grille of Pontiacs, but but they don't have any Pontiac name on them at all anywhere. They were distributed by Pontiac dealerships, and they were all Chevy drive chains.
Okay, so let's talk about your latest car. You have a '65 Rambler that you're working on.
A '65 Rambler Classic. Just before they retired the Classic name, there was one year of the Classic, and then they went into oblivion. But yeah, it's a beautiful little car. I like it. It's only a 6-cylinder, but it runs well, and it's distinct. And I don't like driving new cars.
And there it is.
That's it.
That's the actual picture of it before you did anything to it.
Before I did anything. You can't see any of those marks across the front anymore. I've cleaned them all off, and I waxed it. So that's about all I've done. It's got a big ding on the driver's behind the driver's on the passenger side rear door on the driver's side.
Okay, and you had a special way to take that rust out, which was I'm going to call it non-invasive. What was that? How'd you get that rust off there?
4-to-1 vinegar and water. Ordinary white vinegar with water. Leave it on. Leave it sit. You can use one of those scouring pads you get that are meant for Teflon pans. Works really fine.
Okay.
Doesn't damage the paint.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
It does a job of taking the rust off. You can see the rust all down the side of the car there by the chrome strip.
Yep.
I had the trunk running up beside the trunk. That's all gone. the biggest spot there is bare metal, and there's no rust on there at all. I covered it with wax, and it's been 6 months.
Right,
it's
right.
Just fine.
I like that. I like that shot right there. It looks almost like the trunk's so big, it almost looks like a short bed pickup truck. It's huge.
The trunk is huge. Notice the L decal in the top upper part of the window. That my son had his learner's license, and that's an L for learner. Have to display it. So he got to do some driving on that.
So when kids are learning how to drive, they have to put a sticker on their car up in Canada so that number one, the police can keep an eye on them, and number two, the other drivers can just beware.
That's right.
That's pretty interesting.
Another good thing, you graduate. After you get your license, you get an N in your window, and that's new driver, and you have to display that for 2 years. And you're not allowed to have have a car full of kids. You can have 5 family members in the car, but other than that, you're one passenger for the first 2 years only.
That's very interesting to me. I didn't know that. So let's get back to you. We'll go real quick through some of your past experiences, and then we'll go on to some of these restoration secrets that you wrote about, because they're very interesting, and I'm very interested in it. I just have the questions, and I'm going to be learning just like everyone else here. And I hope everybody out there is doing good. And I want to thank you for listening in. This is a very exciting opportunity for all of us. And Ross is amazing. I mean, his articles are amazing. If you've been on the site, you can see what's going on. And Ross has a long history of being interested in cars. I see that when you were very young, you wanted your father to get a 54 Hudson Jet, which is a beautiful car. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Hudson Jet. I was a victim of advertising, I think, with that one, but it is a nice-looking car, and it was that's probably going back to 1953 or 1954, early 54, because of the commercials.
Mm-hmm.
But Hudson has a great race record. If you want to look it up, the Hudson took away from the Rocket 88, knocked its socks off in I think it was 51 or 52 on the tracks. I could be wrong on the years. I'm not sure of that. But
okay. The Rocket 88 Oldsmobile is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, which was one of the earliest speed cars. We're going Hudson, and there were a couple others as well. There were three cars, and the Hudson was a newcomer.
Okay, so now your second car. Oh, let's get to your. You told me this interesting fact that I have on my questions, that you didn't have to have a driver's license, or your dad didn't have a driver's license, and then we'll go on to the Dodge Dart.
Oh yeah, well I think that's still true in some places in Alberta. You can drive without a license still. I mean, it's not legal, but it's done. I think probably in Kansas and parts of Arizona or Nevada, I think you might find very common people driving without license. Maybe not in Las Vegas or Reno or any large center, but I think if you get out in rural country, you'll find it's very common. And there's lots of spaces out here for driving. I had my son driving at 13 years old up mountain roads, logging roads. You can drive for 3 hours and not see another car.
Not see anybody. So let's talk about your second car, Dodge Dart 61 Seneca, and I'm pretty intrigued about that because it looks different than a lot of the American cars that we have over here. Tell us a little bit about the Seneca.
The Seneca was a 3 on the tree, a standard transmission in this model that I drove. The Pioneer, I think American had a Pioneer that was almost identical to this. It may be not absolutely identical, but very close to the same car.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then we go on to the NSU Prinz, I guess, Sport Coupe.
Oh, that was very sporty when I had it. And that looks a lot like the Wankel engine model, which was in the Spider, the upscale. And that's Still a rotary engine available, which is quite formidable. It does really well on the tracks, I think. But
yeah,
that's
I'd like to have.
beautiful.
I'd like to have this car.
The engine is in the back in this, and the hood opens up, and it's just storage space there.
Kind of like a Volkswagen, a stylish Volkswagen.
Yeah, similar idea. Yeah, and about the same time.
Okay.
Prince is German as well. I mean, it's
well made.
I'm not sure who owns it now.
Okay.
I
hadn't heard of it until you mentioned it. So let's get on to some of these restoration secrets that grizzled veterans usually learn the hard way. So these are just a few of the tips that we have. Number one being, which is where you should start out, is what's the best way to choose a vintage car? What's your take on that, Ross?
The first thing I would say is choose one that you want. Choose a car you want. Don't settle for less than what you really want. You can find one at a modest price, most cars, unless you got your heart set on a King of the Road Mustang or Boss 429 or 454 or something unusual like a Chevelle with a 454. You can find something that'll please you. But I'd say the best thing to get in a car is one that's rust-free, as rust-free as possible, without major frame damage, preferably one that's drivable, one that's in driving condition when you pick it up, when you look at it. You can take it out for a road test and just get a bit of a feel for the car. People want to do things gung-ho, and it's really the wrong way to approach restoration.
Right, 'cause they can
decide.
There we go. There's a nice car. Now that's not your car, is it?
Love that firewall. Man, that's a lot of work. Beautiful job on the firewall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you think? Go ahead.
How much do I think?
How much do you think they have into that car? I mean, restoring that car.
I think it was owner done. I think the owner did the paint.
Okay.
Well, but initially the owner did the paint, and I don't know. I would think that paint job would be could easily cost $20,000.
Right. So that goes back to choosing the car. What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? How much do you want to spend on the car? Do you want to make it stock? Do you want to go back to stock, or do you want to customize it like this car?
There's room for both, but the best way to get money out of a car is stock. If you want a car as an investment, you're going to get out as much as you can. When you're finished, keep it stock. Keep it as stock as you can. But there's lots of room for, if you like this, they're not as expensive as you might imagine to have a car like this purple one. I mean, they're around and the prices are great, and you're probably buying it for cents on the dollar. Somebody's put blood into that, you know. I mean, there's a lot of work in that car.
Right. And
a lot of work in this car as well, this Cougar.
Oh, that's a beautiful car.
But
I actually had a couple of Cougars, so I know what that is.
That kind of car is something that it's compelling for anybody, you know, to see something original and kept just like it was. There's a lot to be said for it, but there's also something to be said for upgrading to disc brakes. You can get a disc brake kit for this Cougar to put on the front end, I'm sure. Yeah, front disc brakes. So,
you especially want disc brakes on those 60s Dodges with all that horsepower.
Oh man, yeah.
I remember those. I remember those Roadrunners.
You got something that does 150 miles an hour. You want to be able to stop it.
Yeah, you don't want to burn your brakes out the first 2 times you try to stop. So let's go back to you for a minute, and then we'll go back to some restoration secrets. So you have some experience welding, all sorts of things. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm not a good welder, but I know how it's done, and I can do flat welding, no problem. I don't know what you want me to say about welding.
Oh no, that's just your mechanical experience. I mean, this is pretty much just who is Ross Mills type thing, so people can get kind of a hold of your personality of the guy that's the editor, the main guy putting all the content on there, and you're going to get some people that will relate to your beginnings, and some that have totally different beginnings and things like that.
Okay, well, I did a 10-month heavy-duty mechanics course, and we did a couple of transmissions and a couple of rear ends in the 10 months. And also about the same time, I took a 6-month welding course at night and Saturdays. Learned MIG and TIG and wire feed bodywork type welding. We did that. We did some inert gas welding. And enough to make me know that I didn't want to be a welder for a living. It was really nice to know how to do it, and I would still do a little welding, but it's not something I want to do for a living.
Right, and I guess my point was, if you're going to restore a classic car, how important is welding, fabricating sheet metal and welding things that?
There's a lot of it. My newest creation has a little bit of rust in a common place down the sides of the trunk. Each side at the bottom, there's a clean out or a place where moisture can get out, located there in the lowest part of your trunk, and it always gets clogged with dirt or whatever, and rust accumulates, and you get rusted out rear fender. So we've got to weld in a piece of metal there, but the rest of the car is good. So
when you fix a rust section like that, what do you do if it's really bad? If say you cut out a large section of it, how do you replace that?
Well, you want to go back until it's solid. I mean the whole fender can be fabricated. You can find used fenders as well for even for the unitized bodies. I know of a friend that bought a used 73 Camaro fender just last week in California, sent it up here, $1,800.
Wow.
That's so you can do a used 73 Camaro. I think it was 70 to 73 the same, or 70 to 74, I think are the same. And that's how much it cost for a used fender, $1,800. Oh, that would be Canadian as well. So that would be $1,400
right.
US.
Right. So
that would be two.
That'd
you
be
could
what,
double
2 weeks
that
pay, you said?
Yeah. Well, it could quite easily be. That's also ground transportation, so 2 weeks delivery, up to 2 weeks. Air freight, you can have it here the next day, but it would be double that. Well,
yeah, it's going to be expensive. So that kind of leads me into my second question. What about restoration and budget concerns? I mean, that's a good lead into that. $1,800 for a fender. So what are your takes on budget concerns and restoration?
Okay, there's two schools of thought again. Some people have to have something that's done from the ground up. If you want to do that, be prepared to spend big bucks to get something back to really good condition, like showroom or better. You're going to spend lots of money. If the people listening to this show are more budget-minded, I think, and they're going to be looking for something that's good value for the money they put into it, and an older restoration is where you should be looking. Something that's been done, been restored, and is in modestly good condition, or a good original car. They're out there still. There's garage finds as well, which is really the low end of the low ball end, and you could be looking at lots of money. If the engine, drive chain, anything could be fixed quite easily, but body work is time consuming, and it costs
Right.
money for that. If you're a body man, then that's a good way to go. Something
Right.
that needs.
And you'd want to check if you can find one that has an engine that's not locked up. I guess that would be one of the first things to check, to see if it's not locked up. So you may get lucky and have one that runs good.
Yeah, all you have to do, take out the spark plugs, squirt some oil in, and you can, with the plugs out, you can turn the crank by hand very often if it's not seized up. You can squirt the oil in, it never seize or something, or liquid wrench, anything
Right.
to get it freed up and get it turning. You can get it turning. You can try to start it.
Right. But that would be one major thing to check, because you could get one that looks pretty good in the body, and then the engine is totally seized up, and you didn't budget for that, and you're going to have to pull it out, rebuild it, or get another engine. So that would be a big expense. It'd be kind of hard to check the transmission. I guess you could kind of check it if it has a clutch. You could put it out and check if the clutch works and check the gears.
So yeah, I would like a car that's working. The car I bought, my newest car, I bought it with the head off. So I didn't know what I was buying. I got a good price on it, and I went for it. And I kind of figured the transmission was gone because it had been parked for a long time, and it was. So if you're prepared for that, it's fine. I nailed the price down to $2,300. I said $2,500. That's so less than what I thought it was going to cost me. But we had to go to 3 parts of North America to get all the parts to do this.
Yeah, I would imagine. So let's go on. We'll blow through your next bunch of cars here. Your first car was a 47 Mercury convertible?
Yeah, and that was a bad investment. That's I bought that car, and that's when I decided that a mechanics course would be a good one, and I was convinced the heavy-duty mechanics would be the one. So this was before that, and I drove it for about 3 months with the fuel pump gone. It would go for half a tank of gas, and then it would stop for 20 minutes, and you could drive it again. But I didn't realize what was wrong with it even.
Right.
So, and it had lots of other problems too. It was the body was rusted and all the chrome was gone, and so a beautiful car. That one image there is a just gorgeous car.
Right.
Flathead
8.
Flathead 8 under the hood of that. Yeah, 3 on the tree, 3-speed column mounted.
Okay. And then after you got rid of that car, you had a 53 Austin A40 Somerset?
Yeah, that's a beautiful car. Maybe one of the classiest old cars I've owned. All leather interior. These were quite common in Canada. Maybe not as common as Volkswagen.
Yeah, I've never seen one here.
No, I don't think you'd see those in the U.S. I don't think they were ever imported there. Austin, maybe. There's Austin there now, I think, right?
Yeah, I've seen those. But, I mean, this is a nice-looking car.
Yeah, it is very nice, and ran really well. The 4-cylinder engine in it was solid, and it had a lot more power than the Volkswagens. I think that was 50 or so horsepower. I don't remember exactly. 45 to 55.
Right,
quite a bit more powerful than a Volkswagen of the day. That was the Volkswagen 1100, I think, was the most common one.
Okay. And you were, 18, 19 when you owned this?
Yeah, 18 to 19, yeah.
Okay. And then when did you get the motorcycle, the Triumph Bonneville motorcycle?
Just before it was, I got it before I got the Austin, between the Mercury and the Austin, and I had it through part of the time I owned the Austin.
Okay.
It was pre-unit Triumph 60. It was 61 I had, and they 61 and prior were a pre-unitized frame.
Okay.
the transmission and the engine housing were two separate compartments, two separate housings in the frame, and that's one picture is that way.
That's beautiful. So did they have a lot of Harleys up there like they did in the U.S. at that time?
Yeah, Harley has always been a favorite, and Indians. I knew an old man that had two Indian motorcycles. He had a 1300 and a 1500 Indian at the same time when I had my Triumph, and one was his wife's and one was his. His wife died, and he just drive these. He'd drive each one of them equally, and beautiful bike, Indian. That was an American-made bike.
Oh yeah, famous, very famous.
But yeah, there were lots of Harleys up here, Harley dealerships. We have, there's a couple in Vancouver right now that I know of. Harleys are very popular, much more so than imported bikes.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So let's move on to the Mustang, and then we'll take a break and answer some questions in the chat area. And so if everybody's out there, be ready for that in a few minutes. But tell us about this Mustang, which was my first car. I had a 65 with a 6-cylinder in it and a 3-speed on the floor. And the only reason I got that one is that my dad's friend had cars he was selling. So what, and he wouldn't let me. It was a 65, but he wouldn't let me buy the 66 or 7 Olds 442 that I wanted to buy. So I got the 6-cylinder Mustang.
Yeah,
because it was safe.
I had a 289 Mustang, and it was in pretty poor condition, but I got it for quite a good price. I replaced the transmission early. I did the brakes. It was very rusty. After I did the engine in it, I did the bodywork myself, and it actually looked quite good. I just fiberglassed over the rust and bondoed it and painted it, and it looked okay. But within a year, it was showing through again. Yeah, it doesn't last when it's done like that. I hate to see a newly painted car because some of these things can be really easily hidden. Researching things that I enjoy doing, I've come across lots of great information on keeping, once you have your car in condition, keeping it that way. It's a garage kept vehicle is your best bet, but you want to keep it covered at least. Even if it's in a garage, you'll want to keep a cover on the vehicle. Cotton cover would be the best. You can use an all-weather cover, but they tend not to breathe, so you could be getting condensation.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay,
sound just perfect.
I was going to ask if you had any advice for newcomers, like how much would it cost to purchase a muscle car?
Well, I'd say it depends on the engine, but if you want a 383 or 340 Dodge engine, Chrysler engine, you can find them around for a good price. You can find them for under $10,000. They're out there. If you want one of the more sought after models, the price is going to be a little higher. But I saw, I think you'll find under $20,000 you can find an example from every manufacturer, from almost every model they make. You can find something for under $20,000.
So who do we have on online, Ross? Who are we talking to?
Nobody. I was talking to you, Pat.
Oh, okay. I thought we had a question there.
Yeah, he never jumped in. So we'll go ahead and move on.
Oh, that's okay. So how I got my son's 65 Valiant station wagon was I had a 73 LeSabre 2-door that I bought for $1,000. That ran great. Had a 401. I think they considered it a small block. It was huge, but not a big block. because when I looked it up, that's what they had it classified as. So I traded that for the Valiant. The guy had driven it from California with a slant 6, and only compression in 2 cylinders, so it barely ran.
Oh.
So, yeah, so there are, yeah, like you say, there's cars out there, and there's some on the site too. There's plenty of cars for sale on the site. Some of them are pretty darn sweet, but they're probably over the $20,000 limit, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
That you were saying.
We've been doing eBay cars, and I've been scouring, looking for older ones or ones that are more reasonable price. There's lots there at 80,000, 90,000, but are these people fishing, or do they really want to sell the car? I did find one today for around 14,000, and that was posted today on Facebook, and I also put it on the site.
What was that? What kind of car was that?
It was a Barracuda. It was, yeah, the four the fenders weren't matching.
Okay.
It looked like the body looked in pretty good shape, but it needed a paint job. But that's the kind of car you want to find. You want to find one that hasn't been freshly painted. You can see what's been done that way. You know, it's been like that for a long time. So it's not like
you have to do the knock test and find out where the Bondo is, right?
Yeah,
there's going to be Bondo in anything, but you know, it's how much is in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can move on to poll 2. What do you think about muscle car fans? So if you have any responses there, I put that question up in chat too. If anybody just wants to chat that in there, or you know, wants to ask any other questions or present, that would be cool. This is our first show, so we're feeling out all the sorts of stuff we can do, and we appreciate everybody that's here so far. We've got a lot more to go to fill up the hour. But if you have whatever you think about us, put it on there. That'd be cool, right, Ross?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Feedback is what makes us thrive, and that's what's going to make the site better. Is feedback. More people that are sharing. I want to get the community together more. It'll make parts more accessible. It'll make cars more accessible. It'll make members happier. It'll create new members.
And you're going to eventually, I think I talked to you a little bit about this before, was parts for sale on the site. That may be coming up at some time.
Yeah, we could start that at any time. I'd love to see that. I'd like to see a big catalog. The only thing stopping me from doing that is organizing it so that it's defined. I mean, the bigger the site is, the more cumbersome it is to look through. So, we're actually splitting into 2 sites a little bit. There's going to be sales on one site, and I'm not sure how we're going to divide it. It's yet to be decided. But
yeah, I think the mechanics of it doesn't matter. It's the fact that it's coming up at some point. You have a long-term plan and goals for stuff like that, and you know, even we talked about maybe like a swap type thing, but that's all in the plans, and we can talk about, once you get those cars, how to store them before restoration and after. Do you have I know you got an article on that and some information.
Yeah, we're going to get on to that directly, but Pat Henry Ford said if you want to be successful, if you're going to be successful, the first thing you have to do is prepare for the success. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to prepare for success for us, and we're going to do that by preparing something for muscle car fans to make them successful in their project car.
Right.
That's what I want to see.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about the storage aspect of when maybe you just bought a pretty rundown muscle car that you're going to totally restore, and then how do you store that till you work on it, and then how do you store it after you restore it?
I think ideally what you want is a double garage. You keep your tools and workbench on one side, and then have parts and tools and the rest of the place. I would like a parts car that I could take into the second part of the garage, dismember it. You've got parts you need, and you've got parts for cores, so you'll be able to drive your car. You're going to need you're going to need an alternator. You can send it out and get it rebuilt before you can send the core out and have it rebuilt and ready to go in your car. It's so much more convenient to have a parts car. Get parts, store them. That's the cheapest way to keep your car going. But a double garage is ideal. If you can get a cloth cover as well, is a good idea for a car that's been restored. Keep the paint well. You're going to want a cover for it. Cotton cover is good. All-weather cover is also good, but it doesn't breathe. You'd have to keep it off the vehicle if you're going to be storing it for any length of time.
Mm-hmm.
Mold, mildew, and things like that are a problem. You want to, if you're not in a heated facility, you'd want something to retard moisture on the carpet, say, or prevent mold from starting. You can clean it. You can keep a water-absorbing material in there. I think borax works well to absorb water. Baking powder. You can keep charcoal briquettes in a small container there, and they'll absorb moisture. You can keep a light bulb in the vehicle. I've heard of that being done to absorb moisture if you're not in a dry climate.
So going back to if it's restored and you don't plan on driving it for a while, this is probably a fairly obvious question, but should you drain all your gas out of it? You should definitely drain the gas out of it. If it's something that's restored and you're just storing it for 6 months, you can keep the gas tank full to the top, and you'd have to use a fuel extender widely available from any good auto support parts place. You put it in your gasoline. What you do is put it in a near empty tank, fill up the tank, and drive the car for 20 minutes, store it with a full tank, and that gas will keep up to a year in most cases. I would also recommend using gasoline as opposed to an ethanol blend, because the ethanol doesn't last as long as gasoline. It'll start breaking down a lot earlier because there's no oils in it. It's a drier burning. So
fuel.
I have a
10% ethanol is common in many gas stations.
Okay. So I had just a random question. When I had my 429 Torino, it had the original motor that wasn't rebuilt, and I read somewhere that I needed to put lead in the gas and not run so much unleaded gas. Do you know anything about that?
Well, the lead preserves the gas. It's also a lubricant, but it's harmful to their health. I mean, we don't want to breathe
Right.
lead.
Right.
We don't want lead entering our atmosphere or entering the ground. We don't want to be around it.
Right.
I can remember when we switched over to unleaded gasoline, people were really worried about this in their old cars, and they switched over. It worked fine. For a long time, maybe you still can buy an additive for the gasoline. Maybe that's what the extenders are now. It's just adding lead to the gas. I'm sure. I haven't read the contents of them, but I know they work. I've never really stored a car like that for a long time. I've always liked to use a tank of gas. But I mean, if you're rebuilding the car, the best thing to do is take the tank out, take all that stuff out. The tank can be resealed. They have a compound you put in the tank, and it'll take out all the rust, and you'll be able to. Yeah, you can restore the tank. And
you have all sorts of hundreds of articles on all of these processes on the site, so that's another reason to head over there. We're just kind of going over the surface of some of the stuff you've written, which is pretty amazing. Let's move on to talk about why you should keep all the original parts from the car when you replace them. I'm a pack rat, so I keep everything. So other people might want to throw them out. Just tell us why should we keep them?
Historical interest. They belong on the car. If you alter it from original, even if you put disc brakes on it, keep the parts. If you're planning something to be passed down, there's value in having it original and having the original parts, being able to put them back. By the same token, you don't want to put holes in the dash or holes in the hood. You don't want to put added scoops on the car unless you're doing a hot rod. It's just not advisable. Best to keep it as close to stock as possible. If you change it, keep the original parts. The new owner can put them back, or he'll at least have them with the vehicle.
Right, because once they're gone, and you may never see them again. Yeah.
You know, I can remember seeing a grill for my car at the time at a car show, and I thought, gee, I should grab that grill, and I didn't. And you know, my grill got broken, and I sure could have used that grill. I wound up with a third rate one. We had to get parts from another grill that were all rusted out grill, and we re-chromed them, but that showed through very quickly.
Right.
Keep the original part, please.
Okay. Yeah.
You'll never regret it.
Yeah, don't throw it out. So let's get on to, we're getting towards the end here, and then we're going to have a little chat again at the end. But what would you like to see Muscle Car Fan accomplish in the future? I know we talked a little bit about it, about swapping, selling parts online. What's going to happen? Just a few things.
Oh, well, there also we'll get into the parts. Finding parts. I'd like to be able to help people find stuff, show them where to go, give them advice online. This live show is an experiment in that.
So what do we need to do that? How will we build a community? I guess what the first thing is, get the word out there, correct?
Get the word out there, and feedback we get, we'll act on it. Whatever feedback we get, we'll act on.
Right. So we're looking for some feedback. What people would like to see. We
heard
grizzled veterans and newbies, right?
Yeah. We heard people asking us to put auction cars on. We did that. We got auction cars now. People were asking for that. We did that. So people are asking for parts. We're going to do that as well. I'd like a really good directory, something well set up, easily accessible, so that people can find parts for their car.
Right. Easy to search, kind of a cross between eBay, Craigslist type thing, where it's all people interested, enthusiasts of muscle cars or vintage cars in general. I went to, believe it or not, a Model T collector's auction. He had, must have been 70,000, 80,000 parts or more, and Model Ts and engines, and it was a live auction, which is really cool. So I bought a couple boxes of just stuff because everything was going so high. I'm like, well, I'm not coming here and not buying something. And I got some dash parts, and I know nothing about Model Ts, but nice to have.
One thing I know about Model Ts is every part that was made on the Model T originally is being made today. They're a perfect car for a hot rod. If you can find one, if you even have a frame for one, you can get the whole car. All new.
And they were selling here in Michigan. He had a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Originals.
Yeah. Perfect car for making a hot rod. You can make it as personal as you like. You're not gonna look in the rearview mirror and see an identical car.
Right. So there's a good tip from you. That it'd be a pretty basic. Wow. Talk about easy to work on too. really all right there. You don't even I don't think you need a manual from what I see. No, you know, a few nuts and bolts, and you can put in anything you want. So
yeah, you know, but Ford also had the first affordable V8, and there's a segment of the collector car population that go for restoring cars to 50 standards with the flathead V8 in it.
Yeah.
50s hot rod standards or post-war hot rod standards, and this just nostalgia for the old, very popular.
Right, and we got some sections of the for sale section up here of just a few of the cars. You can see a GTX. I had that one. I had a yellow one. I didn't have a Daytona Charger there. I think that's not a Daytona. Rotisserie Charger. It's got the nice front end on it. Nova, another Nova, a Cougar. Just and look at how many pages you got there. It's just.
I'm partial to the Buick. I like that Buick there, that GTX. I'm sorry, the Plymouth.
The Roadrunner, the GTX Roadrunner. Yeah.
It looks a lot like. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So. And there's you have tons of articles that you wrote on buying a car, restoring, preservation techniques, and really the article that got me hooked. I found out about you guys on Facebook, the top 10 muscle cars of all time. Tell us some more features of the site, Ross.
Oh, we have articles on every single muscle car model out there, and also articles on individual years that had, like the 454 Chevelle, the Boss Mustang, the 440 Cuda.
Yeah, and the Boss Mustang. There was a Boss 302, and then the much rare Boss 429. I only see one Boss 429 in my whole life. It was pretty sweet. It was back when I was about 20, and it was for sale at a car dealership, believe it or not.
Oh my.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, that's really a valuable car, and one that we'd love to see, but not very common, and not likely you're going to find one.
Well, there's a guy around here that when I used to drag race, we were street drag racers. He had a very rare from the factory. I believe it was a '63 Ford Galaxy double overhead cam 427 from the factory in '63. It was an experimental car, and the guy is still at the Woodward Dream Cruise. The car is. I don't know if the guy is, but that was one of those cars that drove down the road that was a 10-second car, and nobody would race him on Gratiot. No, they like, oh, you know, it's like a legend drives by, and that car is still around. Unbelievable.
Wonderful.
So yeah, there's a lot of those cars that were around here that are still around here. So tell us, Ross, how do people get involved in this? How do they climb on board?
MuscleCarFan.com. It's on your screen at the top. Just Google it and visit the site. Have a look around.
We're on Facebook too.
We're also on Facebook. Yes, we're. I think currently we're doing like 18 posts to Facebook every day, so you can't.
Yeah, and I pick up on each post. If there's a car that I used to own, I make a little comment on there because I had my 70 NASCAR Torino 429 Cobra Jet. There was one. It wasn't that car, but it was a 70 Torino. 66 Barracuda, 67 Barracuda with the 383. There were some Mustangs on there. I mean, just I forgot all of the cars that I used to have back then. And you post those on, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that, oh yeah, I had that in high school, or you know, I still got one of those in my garage. I should fix that. And this is the place to come and you know find out about it and see what's going on.
Yeah, that's right, Pat. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, we have it all. Everything you want for a muscle car, we can direct you to it. We have articles on it.
And we're going to expand based on the fan base. What do they want to see? What do you want to see?
I'd like to see more member input. The more we have, the better. I'd like to see member cars. If you have a car now and want to show it off, by all means, send it in. We'll put it out there. Show it to all your friends. Put your name on it or not, whatever you like. We can do articles on your car. If you have advice for us, restoration advice we can make or add to what we presently have, please let us know about it.
Because it'll help someone else that has that car. There's going to be some tips that they can give us, maybe like on a 69 Roadrunner or a 70 Cuda, you know, with a 340 six-pack in it or whatever, you know, amazing configuration of motor or drivetrain or car that you have.
Yeah, that's right, Pat. It's snowballing. We have more than 500,000 readers now on Facebook, or fans on Facebook. And it's snowballing. It's getting bigger all the time. We're ready for it. There's room for many members out there as you like. We got worldwide. We can take members. Here's what you get in the VIP Owners Club from Ross Mills and Muscle Car Fan. There's over 100 pages of reports on restoration, including buyer's guide, maintenance guide, owner's guide, 58 questions before buying with answers, of course, and a breakdown of the 25 best muscle cars to own, and access to all the jam session replays and archives, including restoration excerpts and interviews. And I know we have a pretty high-profile guest coming on next week. I can't say who yet until they tell us the time, but we're excited to announce that, and we'll announce it on Facebook and our email list and every place that we get a hold of you at. The club finances Muscle Car Fan. This allows us to bring you great content that we add to constantly. Ross is working day and night to research and put these articles out based on his knowledge and the research he comes up with. That's why he wants to talk to you and wants to get everybody's experiences, because that's really what counts. Pat, I'd like to add that most of the content on Muscle Car Fan is free, no charge for it.
Right. It's the VIP club, Owners Club, is just $19.95 a quarter, and you get access to a higher level of information, wouldn't you say? Or describe what we get.
By far, there's a lot more information. I've gone into the maintenance a lot more thoroughly, and an owner's guide, what you're going to do with the car after you buy it, and it is in moderately to good to excellent condition, or the best way to keep it that way.
Right, and just one piece of information could save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, so it's definitely worth it just for that.
And you know, rust is going to show up. You're going to put it off as long as possible, but there's always rust that shows up at some point.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Michigan. Rust is a car's middle name, you know. Ford Rust, Chevy Rust, Rambler Rust, RR. So they can sign up now. That's all they have to do is click to the right and join and support the show. It's as simple as that, Ross?
Very easy. Just a click of the mouse away, and you can get access to everything we have. Okay.
Well, cool. I want to thank everybody for listening in. If you have any questions, pop them in there right now in the chat, or just start talking to us. I'll be silent for a couple of seconds to see if anybody wants to chime in. I want to thank Ross Mills for being on the show and sharing some of your knowledge with us, and we look forward to a lot of the stuff you're putting on the site and the information. We're going to have experts in all sorts of muscle car areas as guests in the future, and we'll cover all sorts of topics. If you have a topic you want us to talk about, let us know, and we'll line it up for that. And to find out how to get involved, go to musclecarfan.com. I'm Pat Caporuscio, your host for musclecarfan.com, and see you at the drag strip or one of the many thousands of car shows across the United States, Canada, Mexico. I'm sure there's some in South America too. So see you later.
Don't forget Australia.
Australia, of course, if you're traveling to Australia. Bye for now.
Thanks, Pat. Bye.
All right. See you, Ross.
Do you have a vintage car you want to restore? A muscle car that you want to show off or sell? Or you're just curious about what's going on in the muscle car world today? Well then, MuscleCarFan.com is the place to be. MuscleCarFan.com is the first and only community dedicated to preserving American muscle car history and restoring these magnificent machines. We have nearly 500,000 fans on Facebook and over 100 articles chronicling muscle car history. This entertainment and historical content is free. Check out our top 10 muscle cars of all times. Also, we offer additional VIP member premium services that will help you in the restoration process, solve problems, and connect with buyers, sellers, and restoration experts. Sign up now at MuscleCarFan.com to benefit from all the latest in muscle car fan adventures.